I completed the Alphabet Superset challenge, and I wanted to talk about what I did for it, talk through my process, and give some tips for if you're trying out this challenge too. So let's jump into it. Hello, my name is Jade, and I like to paint with pixels. So, what is the Alphabet Superset? It is a challenge that was created by Struthless, who is an awesome creator on YouTube, and it is a 6-month challenge with a couple breaks in between, where each week you create a piece of art in whatever medium you choose based on each letter of the alphabet from A to Z. And the aim of this is to create a cohesive body of work that you can share with the world. With any type of long-term project, preparation is key, and this challenge actually gives you really useful handbooks to get started. First, we set the scope of the project and identify some constraints. It started with what medium we want the project to be in, which for me was pixel art, how we wanted to present our work, which for me was an illustration and also a short process video, and what our theme was, what the thread is that connects all of your work together. And I went through quite a few ideas, but the one that I landed on was flowers that represent a world, which on reflection sounds quite grand and a bit confusing, but it combines a lot of the things that I've been really interested in and not had a chance to explore further. I really enjoy drawing flowers. I find them really therapeutic to draw and something that I love to look out for when I'm on walks for inspiration. And I've also been running a D&D game for my friends for quite some time, and slowly we have been building up the world that we play in. I really enjoy the aspect of coming up with places and items that tell you a little story about the region, so I thought, why not try and do the same, but with a new fantasy world and only using magical flowers. I was really excited about this idea and built up a whole little story of a young witch documenting the flowers she finds in a botanical journal that she can give to her grandma once it's complete. And that journal is called The Botanist's Guide to Azura. This actually leads me to my first tip, which is you don't have to go with your first idea. This was probably the third or fourth one in my original list, and if I didn't take the time before the project started to brainstorm these ideas and as many ideas as I could and find one that I was really excited about, I think I would have lost motivation for it halfway through the challenge. I think it also helped that I was basing this project off something that I already know that I enjoy, which is drawing flowers, but adding a bit of a challenge to it by creating new flowers in a fantasy setting. It's going just a bit out of your comfort zone, but not quite overextending and becoming too lost in a new challenge. When the project started, it was a little tricky at first. I had never recorded my process before in a way that I had to set up a camera, or in my case my phone, on a tripod and find the right angle to film from. I'd also never used the software I used to edit my videos before, which was DaVinci Resolve. I can't lie, the interface and the multiple tabs was a bit intimidating, and the blank timeline felt like the fear of a blank page, but 1,000 times worse. But after many more hours than I had originally anticipated, I created my first illustration and process reel for week 1 and the letter A. This leads me to my second tip, which is to know your software. Even if you're just getting familiar with the UI of the software, and some basic shortcuts would have probably made especially the start of this project a lot easier and made the editing process quicker. Eventually though, over time, I did find a good flow of making both the illustrations and the reels. At the start, I would write almost like a stream of consciousness, not being too precious with ideas, but having them all out of my head and in a written form helped me make a bit more sense of them. I made myself templates too for both making the illustrations, which involved a couple variations of pixel paper to draw on, and a template project for the reels itself, which had all the layers labeled, and an example subtitle clip that was ready to be duplicated and reused, which saved a ton of time later on and kept all the reels pretty consistent visually. I even developed a structure for the reels too, so that I knew that I needed an opening statement that included the name to reveal it, and a closing statement for when I zoomed out and revealed the final piece. I found that my original scope was actually quite big for the capacity that I had to work on the project week by week. I originally set to make a 45-second reel every week, but I found that actually about half that length was good for the structure that I'd set up, and made it much more manageable to make it each week. Same with the deadline that I had set, which was originally on Saturdays at 5 PM, I would post the process reel and the illustration. But I would spend a lot of my Saturday catching up with the project and finishing it up, probably was still working on it when it was meant to be released at 5 PM. So I ended up giving myself the deadline of any time in the weekend to post it, as this took off a lot of the pressure that I was putting on myself, but still had the deadline for it to be done by the end of each week. This leads me to my final tip, which is if the circumstances change, don't be afraid to change your scope to suit it. With longer projects like this, I feel like there should be a challenge to it to keep you motivated, but it shouldn't feel like you have to climb a mountain for every project, and if your original estimate was a little off, it's totally fine to rejig things around and make them work for your schedule. With completing this project, there were a couple things that surprised me. One was, I really enjoy creative writing. I've been really getting into reading stories, and I never thought that writing could be a medium that I got a lot of joy out of making myself. Even in high school, I don't know if it was how the UK education system taught English, but it really made me think that I just couldn't write in a creative way, and I lost a lot of confidence in it, but I'm glad that this project helped me take a bit of pressure that I was putting on myself when writing, and it actually became one of the most enjoyable parts of the project. Another thing that I realized is that I really enjoy editing videos. Before this project, the only other video that I had made was for my final year project at university, and I loved the process of making that video, but I honestly kind of forgot about it until I started making these ones. Making these shorter videos also led me to build up enough confidence to try and make longer videos like this one, which I'm really happy that I started and have kept making more videos for YouTube. It helped me learn so many skills on how to edit videos as well, and use other aspects like sound design to help enhance the little stories that I wanted to tell, especially with Hetty's cat familiar, Vin, and his antics. Oh, there he is now. But it's something that I hope that I can use more in the longer videos that I make now as well. So, after finally completing this project, what is next? I would really like to print all of these illustrations into a little book as a little keepsake for myself. I would also love to build out the world more in some other project, but that might not be for a while yet. I'd also like to put a face to the person who's behind all of these journal entries, Hetty and her cat familiar Vin, which will help put my learnings of drawing portraits to practice in a fun way. And finally, I'd also like to share a bit more information about all of the drawings as well. Since the process reels did become quite short, I think there's a lot of little details in each piece that I'd like to share more on, but that might need to be in the next video, where we see where this package has been sent to. I hope you look forward to it. Until then, take care out there. Goodbye!